talked about those sort of pioneers and obviously entrepreneurs going out there and, trying to pave a new trail. I'm just wondering, you'd probably see, having worked with a lot of businesses and that sort of thing, a lot of, mistakes that people are making when they're first getting started online, and even if they've been online for a little while. What are some of those big mistakes that you see people making online, and how might they avoid some of those?
Well, the biggest thing is chasing shiny objects. They get so focused on trying to learn too many new technologies, or trying to to see what everybody else is doing, or they get excited about one product and they hear about one that's even more interesting that somebody else is having more success with, and so they start chasing that money. Those are the worst things that they can do. That's a big mistake. So chasing shiny objects is a huge mistake. Not paying attention to the numbers, not doing your research ahead of time before you launch a product or service, making sure there's actually a market for it. Understanding that that people may or may not want what you have. I'm working with a client right now who I've told on numerous occasions her product is probably not the right product for the market. But they did no research ahead of time, literally said, well, this was given to me by the universe, and so it must need to sell. Well, the reality of it is, whether you want to be that far out and say that it was given to you by the universe, or you just have this great idea that you fall in love with, and you're going to make it happen, you can push it as hard as you want. And I'm a big believer in if you believe in something, absolutely hustling to make it happen. But at some point, if it's not working and you've done everything that you possibly can, you have to ask, does the market exist? Ideally, you would ask, does the market exist ahead of time before you invest a lot of money and time and effort into trying to sell something that people may or may not want. So, not knowing that there's a market ahead of time, not developing a powerful persona that people can connect with and believe in. Not being relevant and transparent, believing that people won't find out about the truth online. It takes moments, if not less, to find out anything they want to know about you now. People take too long to initiate and engage. They believe that it's too hard, so they'll start out with one thing, and they'll say, okay, I'm just going to blog. I'm only going to do that until I'm successful. You won't just be successful using one media outlet. It's like saying I'm going to build my whole business around a radio ad in a particular town. It's just not going to happen. You have to reach out and go further. And then the final thing, probably the biggest mistake that I see people make all the time, is being underfunded. While it appears that internet marketing is very inexpensive to get into, and it is, it's not free regardless of what people will tell you. And so, one of the fastest ways to do research, for example, is to use Google AdWords to drive paid traffic to a site or to a product to see if people are really interested in it. And if they are, then that gives you a sense of whether or not it will work. And by the way, as your business grows, or even in the beginning, almost all of the beginning businesses that when I start them or when I have clients do it, we start out driving traffic with Google AdWords because it's the fastest, most cost-effective way of getting traffic that's interested in what you're talking about to your site. And so, you've got to have enough money to be able to last the ups and the downs, to do the testing and go from there. And then, one of the biggest, again, I keep saying one of the biggest, but there's many of them. Another big mistake that people make is that they spend too much money on technology. This person I was just talking about earlier, whose product may not be a good fit for the market, spent $60,000 to create a website that could have been created using an outsourced tool to, Romania or China or India. She probably could have had it created for a couple of $1,000s. And had invested $60,000 in it, and that was all of the money. And now it has no money to promote it further or do other things that need to be done. It was the sort of, if you build it, they will come idea. And I'm just here to tell you, there's way too many fields on the internet to be building it and hoping they will come. You've got to have a systematic process for doing it. And that's my final thing that I see people doing wrong, is that they don't have a plan for how they're going to run their business. They don't actually create a business plan. They don't create a marketing plan. They don't sit down and say, these are who my clients are and this is how I'm going to reach them. And, tactically, day by day, these are the things that I'm going to do. Without that sort of focus, that fearsome focus, you're not going to have success. And if you do have success, it's going to be lucky. And along the way, you're going to experience many problems in growth, and your business may fail anyway, even if you have a viable business, because you haven't adequately planned for how to reach people, how to communicate with people, how to persuade people, and then how to serve them best.
You talked a little bit about things like the outsourcing that person could have very easily got their website made, and also hinted at the idea of, with the planning and also having systems in place, and that kind of leads into a little bit about outsourcing. How does that sort of fit in with a lot of what we talked about, those steps that you did go through? Quite a few of those, obviously, the person is going to need to create that content, because it's hard to disseminate that sort of information if it's not coming in the right voice. How do you sort of link in outsourcing, and where does that play a part in what we're talking about?
Okay, I'm going to talk about outsourcing in two different ways. Number one, I think people outsource way too soon, but the wrong things way too soon, I should say. Everybody, like one of their first outsourcing things is, I'm going to rush out and get a VA, a virtual assistant, somebody who's going to help me with all of these things. If you're starting up a new business, you need to be in the fray for a while. You need to understand what your clients are saying. You need to understand what all of the people that you're interacting with are saying and doing. You need to become an expert on your business before you ask anyone else to run it for you in any way. So you need to do that first. So hold off on outsourcing those kind of things for a little while, and make sure that you know what you're doing. Before you outsource your social media to someone else to do, you'd sure better make sure that you know what your voice is and how they need to talk, because you can't teach people to do what you haven't done. And so if you're going to bring someone in to actually do the writing, create the videos, all those kind of things, then they'd better know what your voice is, and you'd better know how to tell them what that voice is and how to get it and what to say and all of those things. The other side of outsourcing is outsourcing the technology component. I absolutely think people should if you don't understand how to install a WordPress blog, build a website, set up social media pages, build a Facebook fan page, all of those things, if you don't know how to do that, outsource that. You can get it outsourced for next to nothing. You go to scriptlance.com or elance.com, or I'm sure there's probably some specific to Australia that I don't know about that you can go to, and you can get these people in India, in China, in Romania, in Russia to do things for you for nearly nothing. I mean, literally the last full website I had built was about 17 pages. I provided the copy. That was it. I provided the copy. They even did the graphic design for me, and I had it done for less than $300 in under 2 weeks.